Hello, and thank you for attending the 2021 Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership Program, ORLP, Grants Workshop. This is being recorded on June 16th, 2021, and this is to better facilitate anybody needing to access this at any time while you work on your ORLP application or to learn more about it. My name is Crystal McKelvey. I'm an DCR in the Division of Planning and Recreation Resources. I'm the Recreation Grants Manager, and also my colleague Kelly Seaton, the Recreation Grants Program Planner, has been instrumental in this program as well. This webinar will cover LWCF and ORLP program overview, eligibility for ORLP projects, the 2021 schedule, how these projects will be evaluated and scored, and also pre-application guidance. So again, this is pre-recorded, and we will have a live follow-up Q&A session with us on June 24th from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. So please go to the website and register for that if you would like to attend. The Land and Water Conservation Fund is a very large umbrella with multiple programs, but there are two types of state and local assistance grants. The first one that we administer is the State and Local Assistance Program, which I'll refer to as the State Formula Fund. This program has allocations to each state and territory for projects within that area. This has broad project eligibility, and the priorities are determined by the state through the SCORP and through the open selection process. The state selects the projects, and then that is submitted to NPS for their approval and authorization. This program, ORLP, the Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership Program, is a national competition, so there's no guarantee of funding per state. The funding is available on a national level, and the National Park Service selects the projects ultimately. These projects have to be within an underserved urban community, and that priority was put in place by the National Park Service. Both programs under the LWCF state and local assistance are a partnership between the state and the federal entity, National Park Service. These programs are 50-50 match reimbursement. So they are, the full cost is then split at least 50-50 and paid as reimbursement. So everything must be paid for upfront and then reimbursed afterwards. So this funding comes to the states or passes through the states to the units of local government known as the subgrantees that are actually the project sponsors. These projects can be for acquisition, development, or a combination thereof for land for public outdoor recreation. The projects must align with the statewide comprehensive outdoor recreation plan or SCORP, and in Virginia, this is the Virginia Outdoors Plan, the VOP. All sites receiving any funding from these programs must be maintained for public outdoor recreation in perpetuity through the deed language. The state formula grant is in the planning phase for an open grant round for the late fall of this year. There will be at least $8 million in matching federal funds available for a total value of projects of at least $16 million. The thing to note is that you cannot apply for the state formula grant while waiting for the ORLP decision. We will know by September if the project will be selected to move forward to the National Park Service. So any projects that don't come through ORLP can then be considered for state formula grant. But if you do receive ORLP, you cannot also put the same project components under state formula. This year we'll be looking for both acquisition and development projects. In previous years, this has been acquisition only, but we're excited to also offer development or combination options. So the Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership Program, I'll refer to as ORLP, this was announced by the National Park Service on May 10th through their NOFO, Notice of Funding Opportunity. The available funds increased significantly from previous years. It used to be about $40 million, but this year there is $150 million available nationally. The priority this program year is focused on economically disadvantaged, underserved urban communities. Virginia must submit the projects to the National Park Service on behalf of the applicants. We are accepting pre-applications until July 30th, 2021. We recognize this is a tight timeline, and we'll talk more about the reasons of that timeline in this webinar. We will review the projects and submit to the National Park Service by mid-September 2021 before grants.gov closes. The goals and purpose of ORLP this year will support impactful projects in urbanized areas that create new or substantially rehabilitate parks and other outdoor recreation sites. These projects must be within densely populated urban areas as according to the 2010 census. They must be located in and serve low or lower income areas that significantly lack outdoor recreation resources. And they must directly connect or reconnect people with the outdoors. So to discuss the ORLP responsibilities, there are 3 different entities involved here: the National Park Service, DCR, and the subgrantee or project sponsor. So the National Park Service conducts the technical reviews and manages the panel that will ultimately select the projects nationally. They will score, and the NPS director will do the selection of projects from that ranked list. The state lead agency, which in our case is us at DCR, will solicit, select, and submit the proposals to the National Park Service. The final application will be due in 2022, so this is a pre-application process at this point. And we are the primary grant recipient at DCR on behalf of the subgrantee. So the responsibility of the subgrantee is to submit this pre-application to DCR by July 30th, and if that is selected, then DCR will work with you to complete all the necessary forms and paperwork to then be submitted on your behalf to the National Park Service. We'll also complete some of the additional program requirements in coordination with you, the project sponsor. We'll walk you through the NEPA process, ensure that the appraisals are being done in the correct fashion, etc. So who can apply for ORLP? There are multiple names, but you would then be the applicant, the project sponsor, or the subgrantee. Those terms can be used interchangeably. Eligible project sponsors, as according to the National Park Service for ORLP, are state or local government agencies such as cities, counties, special purpose districts such as park districts or park authorities, and federally recognized Indian tribes. Also, it's very important to note that the project sponsor must represent a jurisdiction of at least 50,000 people and be located within one of these 2010 U.S. Census designated urbanized areas. Nonprofit organizations, individuals, and other private entities are not eligible for ORLP. In Virginia, there are 14 census designated urbanized areas. I'll read them out. In this case, Blacksburg, the Virginia side of Bristol, Charlottesville, Fredericksburg, Harrisonburg, Kingsport, the Virginia side, Lynchburg, Richmond, Roanoke, Stanton, Waynesboro, Virginia Beach, Washington, D.C., Williamsburg, and Winchester. Please note that the geographic boundaries of these areas are often larger than the actual named city. As an example, here's one page of the urbanized area called Virginia Beach. It happens to include areas of Hampton, Norfolk, Newport News, Portsmouth, Chesapeake, Gloucester, and Williamsburg. So please do review the maps closely to determine your eligibility. The PDFs and links are on the DCR website, and you can also go directly to the census website. In this case, it is indicated by this thick green line. Due to some uploads, it may appear gray on our PDFs, but please note that it's the thick line and the project must be within that geographic area. So the project eligibility, the project itself must be located within or border one of the census designated urbanized areas, and the project must serve that community. The community must be underserved by existing outdoor recreation opportunities, and you need to be able to provide that narrative and proof that that is the situation. It must benefit the community and that is economically disadvantaged compared to nearby communities or the region as a whole. So again, it will be important to provide a narrative as such. And the project must create a walkable, close to home recreation opportunity. The land must be publicly owned, and it must be able to be protected in perpetuity for the purpose of public outdoor recreation. The project sponsor must possess sufficient legal title and control of the property by ownership or perpetual easement for public access. Development projects can include a variety of opportunities, including parks, sport fields, picnic areas, open air swimming pools, trails, campgrounds, and certain support facilities such as restrooms. Basically, if it's related to outdoor recreation, then it is probably eligible. But if you have any questions, we can walk through that. Please note that for acquisition, the property cannot be acquired until the award is authorized. We expect the project authorizations to come through approximately October of 2022. So please note that when talking to the willing seller or current landowner. ORLP is a competitive process. So the process here is to provide the pre-application to DCR, again by July 30th of this year. We will then review, score, and we'll use the scoring that NPS has set forward, and then select the projects to submit to the National Park Service. We expect to submit up to 2 projects for their consideration. Then DCR will work on the applicant's behalf with the information provided, and we may follow up for additional details, and we will then send this pre-application to the National Park Service through grants.gov. National Park Service will then review these pre-applications and then notify us, and will notify you, that they have selected it to then continue to a full final application. And we'll work with you to help complete this paperwork and again submit that to the National Park Service on your behalf. So the schedule for this year, again, we just put this out mid-June. The pre-application documents were posted and the guide, and now this webinar. June 24th at 11 a.m. is the live question and answer session with us, DCR staff. Please register. And then July 30th, the pre-applications are due by 4 p.m. via email. In mid-August, DCR will contact all the projects recommended for submission. And in late August, we will come out to do a site inspection just to talk in person about everything and make sure the site is conducive for what's planned. And then September 10th is our target submission of the projects to NPS through grants.gov. In April of 22, this is the estimated preliminary selection by National Park Service, where we will know from all the projects submitted nationally who they're selecting to move forward. And then after April, all project applicants will have the opportunity to finish all required documentation. And October is the estimated project authorization date, October 22. The evaluation and scoring has been developed by the National Park Service, and there are 6 main components. 20 points is for the extent of the outdoor recreation and economic needs. 20 points also for appropriateness of the project to meet the community outdoor recreation and economic needs. 20 points for community involvement in and support of the proposed project. 10 points for embracing new parks and innovative project attributes. 10 points also for project alignment with the SCORP in Virginia, that's the VOP, and other applicable local or regional plans. And then 20 points for project feasibility and likelihood of success. So I'm going to now provide an example and walk through the pre-application forms. These are all available on the website here, the LWCF DCR website. We provide an overview of ORLP. We have linked the notice of funding opportunity, the pre-application guide that we created from the NOFO and other pertinent information. This is where you can register for the Q&A session, and then where you can download the application templates and the urbanized area maps. Please note the email address for submitting projects is recreationgrants@dcr.virginia.gov. You can also access the larger LWCF NPS manual here on the site. So to look at the different pre-application documents, these are in Word format, and they do have comments on there, which you can turn off as you work on the projects, but these are important to note as you work on the documents. So the first one is the project narrative. And in this case, there's a 10-page limit, and please do note that these are limits put in place by the National Park Service. So here you'll provide the information about you, the project sponsor, the current property title holder, and please note that for acquisitions, it's important, if possible, to provide a letter of support or an agreement that does show that there is willingness of the seller. And it is important to provide an accurate address. Note the urbanized area, type of project, and then go into the project summary. So first there's the project summary, where you provide a brief statement specific to the work involved, And then the second statement is if it's a larger project, like a very large park, and you're only looking at a certain component of that park development for ORLP, please note if there's other work in progress on that site. Please be pretty descriptive about exactly what will be built, what the land is like, and anything of note. And then this is your opportunity to directly respond to the different scoring criteria. Some of this will also be scored based on the other documents provided, such as the second document, the budget narrative. In this case, these documents were provided by the National Park Service, and it does note that this must align with some certain SF forms. The SF forms will all be completed by us at DCR based on the information provided. So please do be very specific and detailed here. You can add as many lines as you want under each category. There is an opportunity to have up to 25% budget, overall project budget, attributed to certain expenses such as administrative things such as architectural and engineering fees. So we will be looking at that, and you can read more about that in the NOFO documentation about what the National Park Service is looking for there. Please note what the federal share is, again, maximum of 50%, and what the match share is. The match can exceed 50% in certain categories if needed. Also, it's important to note here, for construction, please note each project element, and that's very detailed. You know, if it's a playground, be specific, and if it's a picnic facility and a restroom facility, please break those down into line items as detailed as possible. Indirect costs will be added by DCR if it's determined that that is eligible for the project. And then it's important to note what the matching share contributor is. Please indicate the amount and the type, and then whether it's secure, firmly committed, or when it is expected to be committed, if it's other grant opportunities or such as something that's not quite budgeted yet, but expected. The National Park Service may be prioritizing non-federal, local share, non-public share, may be more of a priority for them than not. So please indicate any type of matching share that you have available on the project. The third document is the project timeline. And there's a lot of details on here which you can delete after you type up your timeline. It can be a bulleted list, but please note that this is a one-page limit. Please expect the authorization date to be no earlier than October 1st and use exact months and years as the dates. Please don't give a range of 2 months for this and 3 months for that. Be specific about which months you expect things to happen. For acquisitions, please note that the appraisal must be to the UASFLA standard, which is the Uniform Appraisal Standards for Federal Land Acquisitions, which is commonly referred to as the Yellow Book standard. It's important that the appraiser is certified, and the appraisal must also be officially reviewed. For development, please clearly indicate in the timeline how long each element will take, including the survey work, the environmental review, which you can learn more about what's involved with that on our website, Section 106, the preliminary design all the way through construction, and the time needed for permitting. Also of importance is to note when the project will actually be open to the public. So again, you can read through this some more and be sure to include as many details as possible, and it can be a bulleted list. The fourth document that we've provided is the project images worksheet. It really is important to provide a narrative and provide imagery to really sell your project. So you can go here on the Insert tab and just click Pictures and go ahead and drop in any pictures you have and resize them if necessary. And please do also fill out the caption when the date was taken, when the picture was taken, and also credit of who took the photo. So let me jump back into my presentation here. And pardon me, I'll go to the correct slide. Don't want to make you dizzy. So we do have the pre-application guide on the website. Please do take the time to download that and read through it very thoroughly. This will provide a lot of answers about details of what to provide in the project narrative, and there's also a submission checklist and guidance item by item. This is the checklist here. So it's important that you make sure you're submitting all the required documentation. If we don't have everything necessary, we may not be able to move your project forward to scoring. So those 4 Word documents, and please note the maximum pages. And then we also need several maps. The recreation area map is to show the general overview of the location of the recreation area and any recreation available within at least 1 mile. And please indicate the names of the locations and anything nearby of importance. And then we need to have a map or aerial photo or both, but at least 1 map delineating the very specific boundary of the project. This will be the proposed 6F boundary, which is the area that will be protected in perpetuity. And then third, a map of the plan or sketch of the plan site features and improvements. So this is like a zoom in of what your design is for the park and where you expect to put parking and different recreation opportunities. And then you can also use the template for the letters of support. This will be confirming the matching contributions or co-sponsor the ownership arrangements. Please note that the letters of support are important to indicate that there is a willing seller if it's an acquisition project, and it also promotes that there is public support of the project in general. There are some optional documents. You can provide additional letters of support, and they must be addressed to the state liaison officer, which in Virginia is Director Clyde Chrisman of DCR. All right, let's see. So at that point, I have now gone through the different documents, and I'm going to exit one more time here. And I think this provides a pretty good overview of everything, the timeline, the scoring. The NOFO is very informative as well, so please do look at that. And our contact information is provided on the website. Again, please use this email address, recreationgrants@dcr.virginia.gov. I, Crystal McKelvey, am the Recreation Grants Manager, and you can see my phone there. And if you have questions specific to the application documents, you can reach out to Kelly Seaton, the Grants Program Planner, and her phone number is 804-786-1119. My phone number, Crystal McKelvey, is 804-786-4379. And lastly, I want to take this opportunity to talk about other grants available in the recreation field. We do manage the Recreational Trails Program. This is open for applications and closes June 30th, 2021. This is an 80-20 match reimbursement program for the building and rehabilitation of non-motorized, motorized, and multi-use trails and trail facilities. So please do go to our website and read more about that if you have recreational trails in your area that are under development. And then we have a new opportunity called Trail Access Grants, and this also closes June 30th, 2021. This is for ready to build and install accessibility projects on existing trails. This is state funding, so please do read more about that opportunity as well. At DCR, the Land Con office does manage the Virginia Land Conservation Foundation grant. This just opened as well, and it closes August 9th of 2021. This is to fund the protection of open spaces and parklands, lands of historic or cultural significance, farmlands, forest areas, and natural areas. We are a contact for the open space and parklands category, but please reach out to the Land Conservation Office, either Sue Bolbakaya or Larry Mickelson, for more information about that program. And then the Land and Water Conservation Fund state formula is planned to open in the late fall of 2021, again with at least $8 million available. This will be for development, acquisition, and combination projects this year, and it's also a 50-50 match reimbursement program. And all the information is up on the website, and we'll be having press releases as these open. So thank you very much, and again, please register for the Q&A session if you're interested. Good luck, and we look forward to learning more about your projects.